What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a cool little chill Google Hangout. I've got my cup of coffee. Actually, I should do it like this and do a little product placement for Justin Brook. This is one of my favorite mugs from Justin Brook. You can thank me later, Justin. But we're chilled. This is going to be a cool little Google Hangout because I'm going to share with you my
to
10
a cool little chill Google
that
Hangout.
happens every time to me. Happens all the time. Um, Let me stop this. So because I'm going to share with you my 10 favorite marketing books. Let me stop. I got this video of me in the back. I feel like I'm in the middle of an Inception movie here. And let me see. All right. And I got this pile of books over here. And so, yeah, I'm going to share with you, you guys and gals, my 10 favorite marketing books and the 10 transformational lessons that I took away from each book. And I'm going to go through, these are lessons and books that go back over the years. So, right. So I've obviously been reading marketing books, as many of you have, for a long time. And so there are some books that on this list that I'm going to show you that gave me a transformational lesson at a point when I really needed to understand it. Like, so some of these lessons go back a little bit. Regardless, I think that they're going to be incredibly valuable for you, as well with your business. Now, this was no easy task. I got to tell you, this was really no easy task in picking just one transformational lesson from some of these books. So some of these books definitely have multiple transformational lessons for me. Lessons, things that I just took away from some of these books that radically changed my marketing, radically changed my my approach to marketing, funnel design, and so on. But I'm going to do the absolute best that I can to narrow it down to just one lesson and share that one lesson with you as best as I can. If you have a question about this really wasn't designed for like a Q&A gig, but certainly if you've got questions about any one of these lessons, or just any question for that matter, as it relates to one of these books or something like that, I'm totally down to answer that. I'm going to so I've got these two different monitors going over here. So hopefully I'll be able to see all this, kind of winging this on my own here. And that's what we're going to do. And so we're going to chill out. Certainly I will say, if there was any commercial at all, associated with this hangout, it's just the link, the button below the hangout video, and that is that if you haven't grabbed a copy of Russell Brunson's new book, .com Secrets, the Underground Playbook, you're absolutely crazy if you don't grab that. It's definitely one of the 10 that I'm going to talk about. I happen to have gotten a preview copy, and before it actually was released, before it was available to the public, and I was flying from South Florida to San Diego for traffic and conversion, read it and was blown away. Landed, and I think immediately when I got to my hotel, I reached out to Russell to let him know that I thought the book was just phenomenal. And so, yeah, so at any point throughout this hangout, if you haven't grabbed it yet, if you have grabbed it, awesome. You're going to love this freaking thing when you get this book. If you haven't grabbed it yet, you can click that button anytime during the hangout and grab your copy. And so, like I said, my product placement mug for Justin. Now, let me say this, too. In all fairness, I am expecting a copy of a new book that I've been jacked and pumped to read. Excited, waiting. I've heard other people have received their copy, and I have not received my copy yet. And so it could have made this list. But all kidding aside, that's my buddy Ryan Levesque's book, Ask. And so I'm really looking forward to that, because Ryan is one sharp cookie, to say the least. And so looking forward to that. an expert as it relates to survey funnels. And so he's the guy that when clients ask me about funnels and surveys, I say, go to Ryan. He's the man with that. But I don't have my book, Ryan. And so because I don't have my book, I can't talk about how much I liked it. And I believe I will like it. All right, so let's get busy. Let's get down to business here. And so my pile of books is over here off to the side. And so I want to start with, and this is going to be in no particular order, okay? No particular order. But let me start out with the first of our 10. Drum roll, please. And that is How to Get Super Rich in the Opportunity Market by TJ Rollletter. This book is, don't let the title fool you, right? The title, it turned me off tremendously when I first came across this. And then a couple of my friends mentioned this book, and I finally decided to pull the trigger and got the book, and then got the second the follow-up book. And the thing that's phenomenal about this, the big transformational lesson that I took away years ago from this book, was the whole idea of the importance of the front end and the back end, understanding the difference as a direct response marketer in the front end and the back end, and recognizing first and foremost that the big difference between direct response marketers and non-direct response marketers, the difference between direct response marketers and typical brand institutional image advertising entrepreneurs, is, among other things, is that from a pure business and standpoint, we look at marketing under two categories. We look at marketing under the heading of front end, and we look at back end. We're not just these transactional thinkers. We're not simply looking at every transaction as serving the same purpose, right? Prior to this book, years ago, I thought that every transaction had the same exact strategic objective, that every transaction was designed to do the same thing, and that was to generate profit, right? That's what the typical mom and pop entrepreneur, the typical mom and pop business owner believes. Every transaction serves the same purpose, to generate a profit. Well, it really wasn't until this from TJ Rollletter, this book, that really opened my eyes to, wow, there is a massive difference between transactions that occur under the front end and transactions that occur under the back end. The transactions that occur under the front end being marketing that we do with prospects to turn them into first-time customers, right? To generate that very first transaction. Back end being all of the marketing that we do with existing customers, with the goal of increasing lifetime value, the goal of generating that second transaction, that third transaction, that fourth transaction, that fifth transaction, and so on. And so what this book really opened my eyes to was the idea that our goal and objective on the front end when it comes to marketing to prospects is to acquire the greatest number of new customers. It's not to generate the greatest amount of profit. It's to generate the greatest number of customers. And so your willingness to be aggressive on the front end, your willingness to spend more to acquire a customer, right? Your willingness to not generate any profit whatsoever, and in some cases go negative on the front end, is totally linked with how many customers you can acquire, right? You want to acquire maximum customers. The more customers you want to acquire, then you've got to be willing to sacrifice more and more money on the front end. And that means going all the way down to break even, and in some cases going all the way beyond break even, meaning going negative. Meaning if the average front end transaction is $20, being willing to spend more than $20 to acquire a new customer. And I won't get into what that means in terms of you've obviously got to know your lifetime customer value. You've got to know what a customer is worth you over the life of their patronage, and you've got to know your cash flow. But the point is that this was the book that opened my eyes to the importance of being aggressive on the front end solely for the acquisition of customers, And this was the book that really began to open my eyes with how aggressive you need to be on the back end, in terms of how prolific you need to be with offer creation with your customers, and how the game is the back end, right? The whole business is the back end. That this entire business, that companies in the direct response world, savvy marketers, the business is made with how prolific and aggressive you are with your back end offers. Remember, front end, all about customer acquisition, maximum customer acquisition. It's not where our money is made. It's not where our profit is made. Back end, all about being prolific with offers, aggressive with putting out new opportunities for customers to invest more money with you, to get more value from you. The back end is where all the profit is. The back end is the business we're in. The front end is customer acquisition. That's this bad boy. Number one, damn. I shouldn't do the thumbs down. That looks like that's not a thumbs down. That's a thumbs up, but one in the bank. Okay, let's go on to the next one. And the next one, you may be able to get this one online for free in the form of a PDF. I'm not sure. I think years ago, I got this from Yannick Silver. I'm not sure, but I'm almost positive that I got it from Yannick Silver. And number two favorite book, and the big transformational lesson is really in the title, is, drum roll, please. I should have had the sound effects going here, but is Reason Why Advertising by John E. Kennedy. And this is an old school book. This is actually like, this one is, like, look at the, like my copy is in this little thing here, and it's a thin book, quick read. But what this book really opened my eyes to was really the enormous impact, the enormous power, the enormous added credibility that you get in your marketing message when you are giving a reason why, right? And, most marketers, when they think of reason why, even this was kind of before this, when I thought of reason why, or when I learned about using reason why marketing, if you will, I remember learning that you always want to give a reason for like a discount. You always want to give a reason for a special offer. You always want to give a reason for why you're doing something different, right? Out of the norm, why you're giving somebody a special deal, whatever. And that's absolutely true, right? Anytime you give a special offer, anytime you run a discount, excuse me, you want to give a reason why. And I think it was Robert Cialdini in his book Influence, where he talks about, almost any believable reason why is a good enough reason why. But the thing that this book opened my eyes to for the first time was the power of reason why throughout your marketing message. So if you say that something, and in this context, and why I fell in love with this as presented by John E. Kennedy in this book, about reason why, is that it serves as a proof point. And what I mean by that is that reason why, when you give a reason why, it acts in your marketing message as a proof point. So if you say that this is incredibly easy to do, giving a reason why it's incredibly easy to do becomes the support, the evidence. It becomes the proof point for a claim. So, this is one of the things that I talk about often. It's one of the things that I build all of my marketing funnels on. And I believe that it's one of those kind of secret weapons, if you will, not so secret really, but just one of the big differences between the way I structure funnels and marketing messages and others do, and why I believe my marketing funnels just consistently crush it and do really well, thank God, and for clients, is because my marketing messages are not only based on pure emotion. They're not only emotionally driven. They are emotionally driven because we know that people make buying decisions out of emotion, and then they justify those decisions later on logically, right? People are driven by emotions. We're emotional creatures. So our marketing needs to tap into emotions. It needs to drive and stimulate and push emotional hot buttons. And people make decisions out of emotion. But more and more, especially today, prospects are more cynical and skeptical than ever before. They doubt more than ever before as it relates to marketing and advertising messages, especially on the internet. And the internet is the least trusted of all mediums. It's the least trusted of all communication channels, right? I was talking about this last night with the April group of clients in the Marketing Funnel Automation Partnership Coaching Program. This idea that, that if you look at a marketing message in the newspaper and you look at the same marketing message on the internet, the marketing message in the newspaper is given a lot more trust and credibility than is that same marketing message, that same advertisement, that same message on the internet, right? Because there is more trust associated with that medium, with that channel, newspaper, let's just say, than the internet, right? And and rightly so. There's a lot more legislation. There's a lot more oversight occurring with what gets printed in a newspaper, with what appears on television, with what appears on the radio, right? Whereas the internet is more of the Wild West right now. Very easy for somebody to pay $9, register a domain name, throw up a website in 10 minutes, set up a Facebook ads account, and be running traffic to a web page in literally under 2 hours. It's freaking crazy when you think about it. And so people are incredibly skeptical. So yes, prospects are driven by emotion. Yes, you've got to tap into their emotions, the things that move them emotionally. Absolutely, hands down, bar none. And we're going to talk about that more later on when I bring you to a different book. But the reality is that that's not the only thing that you need to include in your marketing funnel to move people. Today, because of the level of skepticism and cynicism and doubt associated with messages on the internet, you've got to give your prospects the rationale. You've got to give them the logic. You've got to, in essence, present a solid and sound, logical and rational sales argument that gives evidence for why what you're saying is true, for why your product or service is the #1 solution for your prospect. Right. And so you have to, yes, stimulate the emotions. You have to prod them along. Absolutely. But you also have to give them that solid logic. You have to have a solid sales argument. This is why the reason why advertising by John E. Kennedy is so powerful. Because anytime you give a reason why, it acts as a proof point, as a claim. It acts as evidence, as a proof point for a claim. It acts as evidence for a claim. So if you say this works fast, and the reason why is because X, that is reason why advertising, and that reason why serves as a proof point. If all you said was this acts, this works fast, and that's it, all that is a claim. That rolls off your prospect's back, like water on a duck. You know what I mean? Like that's all that is a claim. And I talk about often with clients this idea that like the thing that makes marketing funnels today feel like marketing funnels, feel like sales funnels, feel like people are being sold, right? Like the thing that makes it feel that way is the fact that what marketers do is they've been so ingrained with this. It's all about emotion. It's all about benefits. It's all about promises. That's what your prospects want to know. And so what they do is they string together a bunch of promises, a bunch of claims, a bunch of benefit statements. And that's all it is. It's just, claim, promise, benefit, claim, promise, benefit, claim, promise, benefit. And there's nothing that brings the prospect to see logically and rationally, yeah, this makes total sense. Yeah, I get it. There's no solid argument for why it makes sense. And it's just this string of benefits and promises and claims. You see, where the thing that like I teach clients, the thing that I do, the thing that I want you to do, the thing that this really helped me begin to do better years ago is this idea that, yeah, you got to move prospects emotionally, but you also have to provide the logical and rational evidence and supporting detail and supporting information. You've got to have this logic chain, as I call it, where they're not only moved emotionally, but they're moved emotionally and it completely makes sense to them. Like if you were not like, and I say this on webinars and trainings and whatnot that I do, that it's like you are a prosecutor and you are prosecuting a trial. It's not just about emotion. It's not just about that the plaintiff is a bad guy and that he's done crimes before, and how bad do you feel for, you know, the woman that he injured or the man that he injured or whatever it is. That's part of it, right? Moving the jury emotionally. But what's a bigger part of it, or equally as big of a part, is this idea of showing them the logical and rational reasons why this dude's guilty, right? Why he did it. He was there. He had motive, his fingerprints, right? So they emotionally feel it and they logically and rationally see it. That's the most powerful thing. Reason why allows you to do that, because it allows you to provide support very easily for your claims. This is easy to do because anybody can do this, because, right? The reason why. When you say because and then you give evidence after that, that's reason why advertising, right? Like, you're going to enjoy this more than anything else or any other program because, or the reason why is X. That is a supporting detail of what it is that you are claiming. And the thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you are going back and you're looking through your marketing funnel message and you're looking at your marketing funnel and you are looking for all those points where you are simply making claims that are unsubstantiated, and you are going back and you are substantiating those claims with proof points and reason why. And so reason why, Johnny Kennedy. Like I said, I think you can find the PDF version of that on online. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's go to number 3. Drum roll. This one is from my mentor and buddy, Mark Ford. And this one is in no particular order. Persuasion, the subtle art of getting what you want. I've devoured this book. Let me just see something. I've devoured this book multiple times. So you could see, like, over here, there are 3 different colored highlighters. Like, it was highlighted in yellow, then I went back, read it again, highlighted it in orange, then went back and read it again and highlighted it in pink. Now, this is not your typical persuasion book. Like, this isn't your, you know, like, ooh, kind of thing. At all. The thing that I love about Mark, and Mark is, it's kind of cool because all of Mark's prior books were published under Michael Masterson, his pen name. So, you know, if you go over to Amazon and you search for Michael Masterson, you'll find all of his other books, his New York Times bestsellers and whatnot. But this one is one of the first books that I got from Mark. It's weird because my screen is like, but this book is awesome because this was the book that kind of really, what I loved about this book was it just basically was, it put in print, right? It put in print what I had learned so many years ago from Mark, excuse me, about the quality of your ideas. That, like, and this is one of those things that I've just, over the years, after learning this from Mark and going and bringing it into my business and then bringing it into clients and students and whatnot, I've grown to become a champion of this what I learned from Mark, and I give him full credit. And it's this idea that, like, we are, as marketers, in the idea business, period. End of the story. We are in the idea business. When you come up with a product, a new product, of course, simple example, that's an idea. When you come up with a marketing campaign, a marketing funnel, when you write a headline, when you decide on what's the hook, what's the positioning, how are you going to present this, right? Because you can take any topic, you can take any product, and there is an infinite number of ways to package that product under the umbrella of how are you going to position it? How are you going to couch it? How are you going to introduce it to the market? What's the idea that you are going to kind of package this under? There's an infinite number of ideas. Some ideas are garbage and some ideas are great. Some ideas are startling and engaging and exciting and new and unique and different and simple and straightforward and easy to grasp. And others aren't. Others are plain vanilla. Others are very basic. Others are more of the same. Others are convoluted. Other ideas are just a combination of little ideas that are all weak, and and then it becomes one big gigantic mediocre idea. Well, Mark taught me, and this book really drives home the essence of those lessons. This idea of that we're in the idea business, and it's your job, our job, to constantly come up with arresting ideas. And how do you do that? How do you simplify the ideas? What are the criteria for looking for ideas in your writing, in your presentations, in your webinars, in your VSLs, in your email copy, right? How do you identify these ideas, and then ultimately how do you convey them? And so this is kind of at the foundation, and he actually goes over this. Let me show you something here. And right here, he goes over this. And this was it's crazy that he put this in like a $20 book or whatever he sells this for now. But that, this kind of gives away one of the secrets to the concept of the big idea. And the big idea is one of the things that I believe is one of the most valuable marketing lessons that I've ever learned. It's also played a role. It's like one of those top 5 lessons, if you will, one of those top 5 things that that helps me to create the funnels that I create. And just checking the questions over here. And okay. And it's the big idea. I started to say it's one of those top 5 lessons, if you will. And the big idea is really this principle that every single marketing funnel, marketing campaign, marketing promotion is built on the back of an idea. It's either a weak idea, mediocre idea, or it's a great idea. A big idea is an idea that your prospects see as new, fresh, unique, different, timely, easily understandable, immediately understandable, and it resonates with them. But what Mark teaches, which is a little bit more difficult to communicate, and he actually talks about it in this little book that you could read in one sitting. He talks about this idea that the big ideas also tap into the logical portion of your prospect's brain. That a big idea is not only emotionally stimulating, but it's also intellectually interesting, that it gives your prospect the feeling of discovery, that it gives them an aha moment, that it makes them feel like they just stumbled on a news story. They just stumbled on a story that is interesting to them, that makes them want to learn more simply because they're interested in it. Not just because there's a benefit in it to them, right? All big ideas do have built in a big promise, right? That's for sure, because that's at the foundation, the root of our marketing. But all big ideas also have, on top of that promise, they have this component that makes it intellectually interesting. And that's why you've heard me say before, those of you that, if you've been around and studied any of my stuff, I talk about, like, that when a lot of marketers simply make a promise, that's their headline, like it's just a big, bold, audacious promise. What they're missing, the component that they're lacking, is the intellectually interesting part, the part of that makes me say, I want to read this not only because I want the payoff, not only because I want the benefit, but wow, I'm interested in, there's something unique and different and timely and fresh about what this dude, you know, what this woman, what this author, what this person is presenting. And so that's huge. Like, and I want you to kind of ponder that and think about it. And trust me, when you get this book and you go through it from my buddy Mark, and you really ponder this, like I said, you can see from this, and I got a copy of this book not that long ago, because I think that it's published, let me see. Yeah, published 2014. But since getting this book, you could see, like I said, I've gone through this 3 times, because this really boiled down and crystallized so many of the lessons that that I got from Mark. And so it was just, I was like, this is just awesome, man, that he boiled it down. And so get this book. So that's number 3. So let me see. Let me see here. Okay. Okie dokie. Hang on. I just want to see the, oh, whoops. Let's see. Okay. Just want to see if there are any questions. One second. Let me just see this bad boy here. Oh. Hang on. I just accidentally closed the page. And so let me just see this here. And then let's see. I'm going to pick the next book and we'll go to the next book. But if you do have a question, go ahead and just type it. I know that there's like a crazy 15-second delay or something like that, or maybe even more on these things. And but if you got a question, go ahead and put it in there. Let me see here. So Paladin, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. So yeah, I was supposed to get like a signed copy from Ryan of his book and everything, and I'm waiting here every day, checking the mailbox and nothing yet. And so, but we shall see. So okay, so let me go to the next book. So the next book, okay. So the next book that I am going to talk about over here is one that most of you have hopefully are hopefully familiar with. And it's not so much a marketing book, even though it's become one of the go-to marketing resources that that we leverage all the time. But the next book is Influence by Robert Cialdini. And this was a book that I've read multiple times. This is one of those books that you should read once a year, annually. And really, you know, what's interesting about this, I'll tell you that this is the book that, you know, this book talks about the science of influence, right? Of persuasion, the triggers that you know, that continue to work over and over and over in the human mind. Things like the law of reciprocity, things like commitment and consistency, things like you know, scarcity, things like, you know, reason why. There's just, it's well worth you reading. But here's the kind of the lesson that I took away, which is different from, and I took away, originally it was all about these principles of influence, right? Of understanding scarcity, understanding how to use commitment and consistency. And the thing that I'll tell you, here's a couple of different lessons with this book. So if you haven't read this for some strange, crazy, absurd reason, go get this. Go get this from Amazon. You should absolutely have this book and read this once a year. You know, there's a couple things. Number one, when we do any kind of marketing funnel, I always try to work in to the entire funnel as many of the triggers as possible. And oftentimes, depending on the more condensed marketing funnels, I will try to work in as many of these triggers into individual pages. So in other words, what I mean by that is, so how can you incorporate commitment and consistency, scarcity, law of reciprocity, for example, into a single web page, right? How can you bring in social proof? So if you've got, for example, like you might have, let's say on a webinar registration thank you page, you might have comments from people that were on the webinar when you did it last time that are raving about the content, right? You might have the number of people that have registered for the webinar showing, how many people have been registered, right? That is demonstrating social proof. You may have a statement on there that talks about the, what was I just going to say, that talks about why there are only 1,000 spaces available on the webinar and why they want to get on there early so that they don't miss out, right? That is scarcity. You may have a downloadable PDF on that page that is a free gift, free workbook, right? Law of reciprocity. You may have commitment and consistency, a trigger on there, like an anonymous radio button survey that you ask them to just tick just for the sheer sake of taking an action and self-identifying themselves. Like, I consider myself myself a phenomenal marketer. I consider myself a cheesy marketer. I consider myself a brand new wet behind the ears marketer, right? And when they, or I take my business seriously, or I treat my business like a hobby, or I really don't care if it crashes and burns. Somebody ticks the box that says, I take my business very seriously. That is the beginning stages of a commitment and consistency trigger. And so you see how on that one page, in that one example, we were able to incorporate a number of these triggers in here. And so I always look to build all the triggers into an entire funnel. And often the smaller funnel, we will bring as many triggers as we possibly can into individual pages in that sequence. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is, and it kind of made me think, it was a combination of this book and a conversation that I had with my my good buddy Rich Sheffrin. And Rich Sheffrin, brilliant marketer, brilliant dude, one of the smartest dudes that I know. Personally, we were having a conversation one day. We were talking about strategies and tactics. Now, the interesting thing is that I talk about this often. In fact, I was talking about this earlier with Kurt Molly, another brilliant marketer, Facebook traffic generation expert. And we were talking about the difference between strategies and tactics, and how, and this is an awesome lesson. So I want you to please get this, right? We were on a webinar, and somebody asked, one of his tribe members asked a common question. And that question was talking about the six-figure funnel formula. One of my programs he asked, well, it's 12 months old, so is it outdated? And I love that question. It's a common question, and I get it. I get where it's coming from. But here's the thing, and this is the lesson that I want you to get. When you think about information, and you know, books, videos, courses, trainings, studying anything as an entrepreneur, as a business builder, as a marketer, copywriter, whatever, there are two different categories of information that you can study and learn and master and implement, right? You've got tactical stuff, and then you've got strategic stuff. The tactical stuff is stuff like, let's say, how to execute the nitty-gritty details of Facebook advertising. Like what kind of pixel you generate, and where you put that pixel, and whether you should go with website clicks or website conversions on your Facebook ads, right? And all that stuff. That's tactical, right? Or a certain type of countdown timer on your offer pages or something. That's tactics, right? Then you've got strategies, right? Strategies are, tactics are used to implement and execute strategies. So for example, I said the countdown timer. Well, countdown timer is a tactic that is designed to execute the strategy of creating urgency, right? So creating urgency is the strategy. We know that creating urgency drives people to take action, just like there is the strategy of social proof, right? Social proof. Then there are a variety of different ways to demonstrate social proof, right? From comments to numbers, there are various plugins, tactics that will change the number of buyers dynamically as people order a product, right? That is a tactical way to demonstrate social proof. Strategy, social proof. That dynamic timer counter gig, that is the tactic. Now here's the thing. Tactics change. Tactics come and go. Tactics go in and out of fashion. Strategies do not. The law of reciprocity will always work, right? Is a strategy that you can use all the time. Commitment and consistency, always. Social proof, always. These are things that are hardwired into the human brain that cause chemical, neural, hormonal, physical, psychological changes, if you will, right? They have an impact on us, right? Tactics come and go. Tactics change. Strategies do not. So check this out. Number one, this is why I don't read books that are tactical by nature, that are tactics, right? I read books that are strategic. Because the books that are tactical, like let's say you got a book on, how to do Facebook advertising for a second. First of all, no doubt, you go to Barnes & Noble or you go to Amazon, whatever. Let's say you go to Barnes & Noble, you find this book off the shelf, you buy it. More than likely with tactics that are related to the net, more than likely they're outdated by the time the book hits the bookshelf, right? But second of all, here's the reality. Tactics change all the time. You read a book. See, here's why you shouldn't study tactics, why you shouldn't engage, why you shouldn't get into the nitty-gritties of tactics. Because your marketing chops will never go up. Your marketing skill will never increase because you'll constantly be having to relearn the same tactics over and over because they change, they evolve. Right? You read a book on Facebook advertising today. If you want to maintain your expertise on Facebook advertising, you're going to have to read another book in 90 days and another book in 90 days after that, and another book in 90 days after that. And so you've read 3 books or you've read 4 books, and a year from now, you know what you're still learning? You're still learning the tactics of Facebook advertising. Whereas when you read strategic books, when you study strategy, that doesn't change. That's why you're going to find a significant number of books in this pile that are decades old, right? That are not, from 2014, like Mark's Persuasion, but that, you're going to find books that are decades old. And why are those books dated, meaning they're not effective? They don't work anymore. Like I'm going to show you, and many of you that have been around me for any significant length of time, you know already what book the book is that I'm going to tell you is the greatest #1 most valuable marketing book ever published. I can tell you that it was not published in the last decade, not even in the last 2 decades. Why is it still the most valuable book, hands down, bar none? Because it's not about tactics. It's about strategy, right? And so how does that go back to, Cialdini's influence? It would probably help if I, right? Influence. Well, number one, all of these things, these are strategies that have a direct impact on the human mind, on psychology, on what drives us, on what moves us. These are things that cannot even be, in many cases, can't even be resisted. In other words, we as marketers understand what's going on, understand what's being done, but it still has an impact on us. It still has an impact on us. And so you want to study strategy. So what do you do with the tactics, right? Just as a side note, you're probably wondering, well, all right, if I'm not learning the tactics, well, then how do I ever implement the tactics? It's like I said earlier on the webinar that I did with Kurt and his awesome tribe of folks. I said that's you go to people where their job, their role, their company is to stay on top of the particular tactical elements. Like Kurt is a master at Facebook advertising. The guy knows Facebook advertising, you know, unlike anybody I've ever personally encountered. Right. And so, you know, so you think about it. I'm going to study and master strategy. I'm going to go to a guy like Kurt, who is on top of the tactical aspects of Facebook, because that's how he makes his money. That's how he gets paid, by implementing the tactical stuff for other marketers. And I'm going to pay a guy like Kurt to do it. Right. Because here's the thing. I want you to think about this. If you try to master all of the different tactics of this entire business, of the direct response game on the internet, you're going to constantly be in information acquisition mode, because you're constantly be trying to stay on top of these things with these tactics. When a guy like Kurt, and you're not going to be able to stay on top of, you're not going to be able to stay on top of the tactical changes with Facebook advertising, with Twitter advertising, with LinkedIn advertising, with YouTube, with retargeting, with all of these different things, plus the updates to your email technology and the new tools for publishing web pages like ClickFunnels, 10-minute funnels, optimized press, you know, etc. When you got a guy like Kurt who's only focusing on one of those aspects, right? Like you've got a guy who's he for example is studying that, right? And so so you don't study that. You become a master at the strategies, right? And understanding why the strategies work and the different strategies, excuse me, right? And then the tactical stuff becomes easy. But you've got to stem from, like, everything tactically that you do needs to be backed by a solid understanding of what's the strategy and why you're doing it. You know, it reminds me of in my, again, my I Am Scalable mug from Justin Brook. It actually, let me have water. It reminds me of that, like when I talk about this story of, like, the marketer that you know goes over and sees, you know, looks at an expert doing a product launch, let's just say, and they see that expert has you know, a string of Facebook comments. They have the Facebook comment widget below their videos, right? And they've got all these comments and feedback and blah blah blah, right? And so that new marketer thinks, all right, that expert had the Facebook comment widget below their video, so I'm going to take that Facebook comment widget, you know, I'm going to make sure that it's below their videos, right? That's what they're thinking in their mind. And so they go and they do that, and they wind up with this Facebook comment widget below the video and below their videos, and they've got, you know, 3 comments on there, and they think that they did a great job because they followed tactically what the expert did. But what they don't realize is that the expert had the Facebook comment widget because they were implementing the strategy of social proof. And it was only an effective tactic, right, because they had a string of comments and feedback and rave reviews. And so that string of comments and feedback and rave reviews served as social proof. It showed that people were engaging with the sequence, the series, right? But the thing that that new marketer doesn't understand, who simply copied the tactic, is that even though they copied the tactic, because they have 3 comments, that is not effectively implementing the strategy of social proof. There is no social proof when you've got 3 comments. In fact, if anything, it's negative social proof. And so that marketer is actually hurting their positioning and hurting their conversions. So they've taken the same tactic, but they haven't effectively executed on the strategy. The more important element is the strategy, not the tactic. The strategy, not the tactic. And so that's why you master strategies, not tactics. And the last thing that I'll share with you, and this goes back to that conversation with Rich. So I was, right, Rich, brilliant guy, great friend, was and is a mentor to me, somebody that I absolutely, whose opinion I respect immensely. So he said to me, you know, one day, he said, you know, the difference between an all-star marketer, like the all-stars, the great marketers, and excuse me, the average marketers, is not in the strategies. It's not in the strategies. It's in the tactics, right? And so, meaning that it's, you know, the all-stars and the average use the same strategies: social proof, scarcity, commitment and consistency, right? All of these all of these elements, same strategies. The difference is in how they implement those tactically. The all-stars look for new and different tactics to implement the same strategies. Same strategies, different tactics. You need to master the strategies first to make sure that tactically you understand the strategy behind it. It's not about the tactics, it's about the strategies. And so influence, this one is one that is one that each and every one of you certainly hopefully have read. You should read that one every year. Let's go to the next one. And so the next one is interesting because the next one is the first part of the book is really going to be for most of you, and actually the whole book is really valuable, but the first part of the book is really the most valuable and most appropriate for where you're at, you know, for most likely where many of you guys are at, most of us are at, because the second part of the book talks about growing to $100 million a year. So I'd like to say that I'm at $100 million a year, but I'm not. And so, but the next book is also from my my good friend, right, Michael Masterson, Mark Ford, Ready, Fire, Aim. And Ready, Fire, Aim, this is a phenomenal book. And the beautiful thing about Mark, so Mark is, Mark, for those of you who don't know who Mark is, not only is he, you know, a New York Times, Wall Street Journal best-selling author, he's written numerous best-selling books, but most importantly, he is the mastermind, really, like the guy behind the scenes, the guy who helped orchestrate Agora Inc., which is a gigantic publishing company, $500 million a year. $500 million a year publishing and selling newsletters, most specifically financial investing newsletters and alternative health and wellness newsletters. $500 million a year with locations and divisions, if you will, all over the world, in France, and they've got down here in South Florida, and just crazy. And Mark was the guy that, you know, helped Bill Bonner really grow the company. And Mark has built some, or been part of some $100+ million plus companies. So Mark has helped grow through his consulting, his guidance, his coaching, his input, over $100 million plus companies. And what I love about Mark and, you know, a book like, you know, Ready, Fire, Aim, is that there's no theory. There's no conjecture. Like, it's not the, you know, this sounds good. This is not coming from a guy who's, you know, sitting around a boardroom, you know, contemplating, you know, brand and movements of people. This is like a guy that, you know, in the trenches was living and dying by numbers, by response, by the quality of their marketing campaigns. And he's a very practical, pragmatic, straightforward dude. You know, brilliant guy, phenomenal writer, big thinker, which, you know, so it's no shock that the whole idea of big ideas comes from, you know, really Mark and whatnot. He's not your typical marketer in that his background is, he was like, if I remember correctly, he was like an English teacher. He joined the, what was it? The Peace Corps. Like, just not your typical, like, you know, he writes poetry. He's got a book published on poetry. But he's very pragmatic. And what I love about this book is he tells you exactly what it takes to grow your business, and like what he does. This is like the advice that he gives when he consults with folks, and he gets paid upwards of $1 million to consult with companies. So when he consults, there's a hefty upfront fee, and that they pay, and then they pay him a royalty up to $1 million to consult with them. Well, the big thing, and you know, like you see, you know, the big thing that I took away from this book was also, again, something that I had learned from spending time in person with Mark, and it was this idea that, right, like the number one priority in your business until you reach a significant size is sales and marketing. and specifically the ability to acquire customers from paid media, and the ability to do it consistently and reliably day in and day out. You know, Mark doesn't pull any punches in here, and he talks about, like, don't bother buying a fancy desk, a fancy chair, a fancy computer, a fancy telephone system, crazy business cards, signage, all that, like, you know, like stuff, until you understand how you're going to consistently and reliably acquire new customers, right? And that is the single most critical element of any business. There is no business if you cannot reliably and consistently acquire new customers. And so, like, you know, you know, a lot of marketers, they skip over that. They place this gigantic emphasis on, it's all about product development. And of course you want to deliver a phenomenal product. Of course you want to have a great product that wows your prospects, your market, of course. But at the end of the day, right, if you cannot acquire customers and do it day in and day out consistently and reliably, you will eventually struggle. You will eventually go out of business, right? You know, at the backbone of your business is your ability to acquire new customers and do it reliably and consistently, and really do it from paid media, because that's the only controllable media. It's the only scalable source of lead flow and customers and prospects that we have. Not SEO, not article distribution, not video distribution, you know, not blog posting, but paid media. Right? It's the only thing that you control. It's the only thing that you can turn up, turn down. It's the only thing that is reliable and doesn't make your business vulnerable. And so this whole idea that, like, your most essential priority and the thing that you need to focus on until you nail it is what Mark calls the optimum selling system. I think it is optimum selling strategy, excuse me, OSS. And, you know, in essence, what this is really, he calls it the OSS. In essence, what this is until you have a front end customer acquisition marketing funnel in place that allows you to acquire customers consistently and predictably day in and day out from paid media, do not focus on anything else. Do not focus on anything else. Do not invest in anything else. It's the single most valuable thing. And that's why he dedicates the first part of this book to that. And so that was kind of the big you know, transformational lesson right there. Like, don't try to fix, if you're struggling right now in your business, right, and you're struggling in terms of sales growth, customer acquisition, don't try to fix it with the back end. Don't try to fix it with weird other additional affiliate offers. It's okay if you've got to do affiliate offers from a temporary band-aid, generate cash flow to continue to work on the front end. That's okay. But the thing that you've got to focus on day in and day out until you nail it, the single most important thing, is your front end customer acquisition funnel, or as Mark would call it, your OSS, your optimum selling strategy. The other thing that I just want to mention, the kind of the honorable mention from this book, is this you know, Mark talks about, like, until you are generating $1 million or more a year, your sole focus in your company, your sole focus as the entrepreneur is marketing and selling. Like, it's not, you know, there are a lot of marketers that their focus will, you know, they'll start to make, you know, 6 figures a year. They'll start to make, you know, 250,000 a year, whatever, you know, 300 grand a year, whatever. And then they'll immediately deviate their focus to outsourcing, team development, business, you know, internal systemization. And there's nothing wrong with those things. Those things, in fact, you should, those things are good. But the key is that you're not diverting your focus, that the focus continues to remain in your company on the growth and optimization of your marketing, developing better offers, developing better ideas and hooks, developing additional front end customer acquisition funnels, developing additional back-end products, offers, funnels, sequences, follow-up, that your business continues to be focused on your marketing until you reach a critical mass. And what I would say to add to that, and I've seen it time and time again, is when marketers take their eye off of the front end for too long, when they stop focusing on the front end and they solely focus on the back end, meaning that they're not acquiring as many customers, their business begins to flatline, and then their revenue begins to flatline and go down. Because over time, every business has attrition. Every business loses customers, loses clients, loses tribe members over time. You've got to make sure that you continue to have the front end in place, even when you are focusing on the back end, because it's the front end that gives your business stability. Right? It's the front end, the ability to, like Mark says in here, to regularly and consistently and reliably acquire new customers from media, from paid media. That's what gives your business stability. You know, if you focus on the back end and not the front end, you can eventually go out of business, because you can eventually run out of customers. If you focus on the front end and not enough on the back end, you won't go out of business. You just won't generate as much profit in your business. But you can sustain a business with a solid front end. But without a solid front end, your business is not sustainable, and it's only a matter of time. And so that's this bad boy, Ready, Fire, Aim by Michael Masterson, my buddy Mark Ford. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're at the halfway mark. So let me just see if there are any questions. I'm going to take a drink of water and let's see. Okay, I'm not sure if the Ruth, what are books 1 and 2? You'll have to watch the recording when and the replay will be up right away. I think they just it records it automatically, so you can just go back and you'll be able to forward through and whatnot. So let me go to the next book, and the next book is the best marketing book, hands down, bar none, without question, that's ever been published. It's the book that, if there was one book that I had to read every year, and that could be the only book that I read every year, this would be the book. It's the book that, at one point, well, let me see. I'm curious if you guys can post, because a couple people are saying it looks like, I don't think the comments are posting. Let me see. Go ahead and enter into the comments section if you think you know what the book is. Tell me if you think you know what the book is that I'm about to share with you, that that I believe is the single greatest marketing book of all time ever published, hands down, bar none, without question. Let's see if you can guess what that is. I know there's a 15-second or 20-second delay here, so it's so funny because this book at one point was no longer being published. It was no longer available. You couldn't buy it, and but people were selling used copies of it on eBay, and they were selling for $800 and $900 on eBay. Fortunately, a friend of mine, Brian Kurtz from, he's a new friend of mine, Brian Kurtz of Boardroom, started republishing the book, and now you can buy the book on Amazon for $25 or whatever it is. So you don't have to spend $800 or $900 on the book. And so single greatest marketing book ever published, in my opinion, is Breakthrough Advertising by Gene Schwartz. I've read this book so many times. You could see different highlighters: yellow, orange, a different kind of yellow, pink. I've gone through this. This book is so valuable to me that I have a second copy that I've never read, that hasn't been cracked. Just, God forbid, in the event that anything happens to this copy, I still have a backup copy of this book. And so, Breakthrough Advertising. hands down, bar none, the single greatest marketing book that has ever been published. And you won't find any tactics whatsoever in this book. But the big transformational lesson that I got from this book, just to speed things up for time purposes, is something that I talk about all the time, and I reference it all the time. I've talked about it in, I think, 3 live trainings over the last 24 hours, and that is the idea of marketplace sophistication. What Gene Schwartz talks about in here, what he was the guy that really brought to the forefront of our minds as marketers and purveyors of products and services, entrepreneurs, is the idea that that markets, prospects go through an evolution as they are exposed to more and more marketing messages, and they evolve in terms of their level of sophistication. So Gene Schwartz talks about these 5 levels of marketplace sophistication, and how the effectiveness of a marketing message, how effective a marketing message is dependent on whether or not that marketing message is at the right level of sophistication for the market. Because, you know, a market that is at a higher level of sophistication, if you craft a marketing message that's at a lower level of sophistication, it's not going to resonate with that market. It's not going to create the level of attention, interest, and engagement that you need. Right? If you've studied any kind of marketing, Marketing 101 talks about this whole idea of AIDA, attention, interest, desire, action. Before you can generate action, you got to create desire. Before you can create desire, you got to create interest. Before you can create interest, you've got to generate attention. And if you've got a message that is at a low level of sophistication, too low for a marketplace, you're going to struggle to create attention, and you're certainly going to struggle to create interest, which means you're not going to create any desire or generate any action. And so Gene Schwartz broke it down into 5 levels of marketplace sophistication, and just showed that, markets, they'll start here at level 1. And then as they're exposed more and more to level 1 marketing messages, they no longer respond in the same manner to that level 1. Like, I talked about this today. I'll break it down very quickly, because there's other trainings of mine that you can get the nitty-gritty details on. The example that I use all the time is at level 1 is all about a market that is never the promise that you're about to make in your marketing, the promise that you're going to present to them in your headline, they've never heard before. It's a brand new promise, right? And so because it's a brand new promise and they've never heard it before, the only thing that you have to say to that market in order to generate response is that promise. All you got to do is make the promise. The example that I give all the time when talking about marketplace sophistication is this idea of when the very first fat burner was released, all they had to say was, take this pill and you'll lose weight. No more, no less. That's the promise. Take this pill and you'll lose weight. But then, like what happens in all markets, competitors come along, very incestuous. They begin making the same claims, similar claims. The market no longer responds to that level 1 message. So they go to level 2. At level 2, what you find is that marketers begin to expand the claim. So instead of take this pill and you'll lose weight, it's take this pill and you'll lose 10 pounds. Take this pill and you'll lose 10 inches. Take this pill and you'll drop 3 dress sizes, right? They are now expanding the claim. Over time, more and more marketers, more and more companies come in, start making the same claims. And what happens is you see the expansion of the claim. So it's no longer about take this pill and lose 10 pounds. It's take this pill and lose 15. Take this pill and lose 20. Take this pill and lose 70 pounds in the next 7 hours, right? Well, what happens is eventually, though, expanding the claim no longer is credible or believable. It's no longer trustworthy. It's no longer trusted. And so prospects move on to level 3. At level 3, it's all about the introduction of the unique mechanism, right? The unique part, piece, component, process, system, aspect, whatever of your product or service that delivers the results. Right? It's the German steel in the knives. It's the Garcinia cambogia in the fat burning supplement. It's the Intel chip in your computer, right? That's that at one point was the unique mechanism. Level 4 is all about the expansion of the unique mechanism. It's about the pharmaceutical grade Garcinia cambogia, the cold pressed Garcinia cambogia. It's about the It's about the double the potency. It's about the Garcinia cambogia that has the enzyme in it, right? It's the expansion of the unique mechanism. And then at level 5, you've got, it's no longer about the product. It's now about the prospect. It's about the prospect's experience. Are you sick and tired of dieting, exercising, taking pills and never losing weight? Sick and tired of dieting, exercising, taking pills and gaining weight? Sick and tired of yo-yo dieting, going on and off of Nutrisystem, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, this diet, that diet, and just yo-yo and going up and down with your weight, right? That's the prospect experience. That was the single greatest lesson that I learned in this book. The idea that, like, if your market is at a level 3 because of what they've already been exposed to by competitors, by other companies, by other product owners, right? And because of that, they've already seen the basic promises. They've already seen the promises that have been expanded, hyped, the blown up, and now they're looking for the unique mechanism to give them the results. And you roll out with a level 1 message. You roll out with a level 2 message where it's simply just an expanded, hyped up promise. Don't matter what funnel model you use. Doesn't matter if it is, it doesn't matter if it's, you know, a basic funnel, tripwire funnel, invisible funnel, survey funnel, 4-part video sequence funnel, 6-figure funnel, formula funnel, does not matter. It's not about the model, it's about the message. And at the foundation of the message, it's making sure that your message is at the right level of marketplace sophistication. That you understand that, like, imagine this, and this is the example I give, that if we decided to create our own fat burning supplement, and what we did, no matter how great, we made it great, the best formulation, the best product, the best nutrients, the best ingredients, but our marketing message was level 1, and what we said was take this pill and you'll lose weight, right? We'd get slammed. We'd get murdered in the marketplace, right? We would get killed. Why? Because the market is too sophisticated for that. What do I mean by sophisticated? I don't mean that sophisticated that they're, sitting back in their, I mean that they've seen it. I'm talking about marketplace sophistication, right? Marketplace sophistication. That was supposed to be a pipe, just for those of you that were, just a bad impression, man. A bad impression. It's getting late and hot but it's their sophistication level as it relates to marketplace sophistication. And so at the foundation, it is first and foremost, it's not only knowing your prospects. See, like when people, when marketers are taught this idea of you got to know your prospect, right? Absolutely. You got to know your prospect better than they know themselves. You got to know them intimately. What keeps them awake at night? What are their fears? What are their concerns? What do they want? What don't they want? What's the language and verbiage that they use? What are the other products that they've tried, right? All those things. That is critical to when knowing your prospect so that you can understand how to craft a message that moves them. But what I'm talking about is knowing your competitors, and more specifically, knowing the marketing messages that they've put out to the market. Right? What is it that your prospects have already been exposed to in terms of promises, in terms of mechanisms, in terms of claims, right? Because that gives you an insight into marketplace sophistication. Knowing what it is that your prospects have been exposed to by your competitors is how you identify marketplace sophistication. That is a different element than just understanding your prospects and what makes them tick and what keeps them awake at night. Knowing them demographically, psychographically, their purchase history, who they follow, who they read, who they look up towards, who's credible in their eyes. Those are all two different things, both of which are essential. And so that is Breakthrough Advertising. This is a book that you should read once a year. This is a book that guys like Jay Abraham, Clayton Makepeace, guys that I was blessed and fortunate to work with and really learn from, read this once a year, and you should as well. And so Breakthrough Advertising, Gene Schwartz. Let's go to another book, and this will be a quick kind of a quick takeaway. This is just an awesome book. This is one of those books also that you should really read once a year. This is a book that, let me see, that was published, so 1962, right? So you are talking over 5 decades ago, right? You know, over 50 years ago, this book was published, right? Why is it not out of date? Why does it still apply today? Why is it one of the best marketing books that you will ever read? Because it is about strategy, not tactic. And so this book, number 8, right? Is that 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 7. Yes. Number 7. Number 7 is How to Write a Good Advertisement, a short course in copywriting by Victor Schwab. This is a phenomenal book, and you will learn a lot about the kind of hands-on nitty-gritty detail of copy, right? But the best takeaway from this book, and it comes at the very beginning, not the very beginning, but it's kind of interesting too, because I'm going to show you something. Like, you should look at the table of contents and look at the quality of like the copy, how to get more inquiries, how to reduce the number of inquiries, how to make the inquiry coupon itself, 7 other factors which influence the effectiveness of an advertisement. You know, you can profit after hours, right? How long should your copy be? Platitudes won't answer this question. Like, this is just great copy in the table of contents. But the most valuable thing that that you will get from this, like the transformational lesson, was, and I'm trying to find it in here to show you, is how Vic Schwab, better than probably anybody else, really shows you how to boil the benefit down to the real advantage, the real outcome, the real result that your prospects are ultimately looking for. And it often becomes, and I use the phrase with clients and students in our different programs, what is the benefit of the benefit, right? So like oftentimes, you know, marketing 101, salesmanship 101 teaches the idea of the difference between features and benefits, right? Everybody on this hanging out right now understands the difference between features and benefits. Features are about the product, and benefits are what those features do for you. But oftentimes it's common to see marketers that will translate features into what they feel are benefits, but it's not the real benefit that the prospect is ultimately looking for. In other words, it is a benefit, but it's not the core driver, the core advantage, the core outcome or result that your prospects want. And that's what Victor Schwab is just really great at, and what he really covers in this book, how to get down to what he calls the advantage that your prospects want. And so it's kind of like, you know, here's a feature. With this course, you get the audio version. So you get the audio version of the course. And so the benefit to you is that you can listen and re-listen to the training program numerous times, you know, in convenient locations right on your phone, right? Well, that's not really a benefit, right? That's not really a benefit. I always, when clients come to me, when students, when stuff's posted in one of our Facebook groups, and they say like, you know, that, I said, well, what is the benefit of that? Well, I'm always drilling down to the benefit of the benefit. What's the benefit of being able to listen to it over and over? What's the benefit of being able to listen to it conveniently, you know, anywhere you are, in your car, when you're exercising? Like, what's the benefit of that? Because nobody wants, see, like, the question becomes, what do they really want, right? What do they want? And the answer is not that. What they're not excited about is, yes, I can listen to this over and over again. And yes, this, I've wanted to listen to an audio program while I'm exercising. No, you see, there's a result, there's an outcome, there's a benefit. There's like what Victor Schwab talks about in this book, the advantage, showing them the advantage. And he gets down to kind of the essence, the real essence, right? It's kind of like, you know, the deeper emotional essence and core of why your prospects want the things that they want from you. And so I'll leave it at that with this book, but this is one of those that, again, top copywriters read this book annually. I love it. That one thing alone, just understanding, like constantly asking myself, what's the benefit of that? What's the benefit of that? What's the benefit of that? Okay, so while I can listen to it, like I can have it on my, you know, it's MP3, not CD. So what that means for you is that you can put it on your iPhone, take it with you, and listen to it anywhere. Well, what's the benefit of that? Right? Well, it's more convenient for you. And so, well, what's the benefit of that added convenience, right? Because that's not really a benefit. That's really just a feature. The feature is the convenience of the audience. So what's the benefit of that? And drilling down until you get to the core essence of what is the real result that they are looking for. Okay. And so that is 7. So let me get to 8. 8 is a book that is another one of those books that you should read annually. And let me see here. What is the publishing date on this one? So the publishing date on this one is 1974. Now, there have been multiple revisions of this book since it's been published. I can actually show you the cover. This is the book you want, right? No, there's no title on it. That's why I can show you the cover. But this is the book is Tested Advertising Methods by John Caples. And the thing that I want you to see is this is the edition that I recommend you get, not this. Not this edition, this edition. This is the 5th edition. This is the 4th edition. You do not want the 5th edition. You want the 4th edition. And the reason is that that the changes in the 5th edition are not good. There's stuff that's taken out and tweaked. This edition is much, much better. And so this is one of those books. Oops. This is one of those books, like you can see, again, multiple different highlight colors, pens in here. You could see, you know, pen, black ink, and you could see, let's see, yellow with blue ink. You can see that's how many times I've gone through this book, and there's a ton. This was one of those books where it was really hard to just narrow it down to one transformational lesson from this book, but I did. And because there's one lesson that I took away from this book, and it only came from this book, that has become incredibly valuable. But there's a lot of valuable stuff in here. Like, look at this, like all just about copy, about crafting headlines. This is probably the best book to really master or master the skill set of writing headlines, of writing subheadlines, and of writing subject lines. There's no better book published on that topic specifically, I believe. Any book that has been published on that topic since comes from Caples. Caples is this is the book that if I remember correct, John Carlton credits as the very first book that he read over and over and over, and had dog-eared and whatnot, that really launched his career into the direct response copywriting world. And that's because it's very nitty-gritty strategy in the trenches. Like, it's not conceptual, it's not theory. But there's one idea that Caples presents that I had never seen presented before, and it's this idea of identifying and reusing the specific type of appeals appeal that resonates with a market. So there are different appeals. It's kind of like saying this. The easy way for me to explain this to you so that you understand the value of this is that, you know, let's keep it general for 1 second. There are positive appeals in a marketing campaign, and there are negative appeals in a marketing campaign. A negative appeal is like what you don't know about medicine, what you don't know about your vitamins may be killing you, or what the natural health companies don't want you to know about most over-the-counter nutrients, right? That's a negative appeal. Another negative appeal is like, you know, how the Wall Street, how the Wall Street brokers are quietly robbing you blind and getting rich behind your back off of your hard-earned money, right? Or something like that. That's a negative appeal, right? And then you've got a positive appeal, like, how to grow rich in the comfort of your home with no business knowledge, no tech knowledge, and do it in under 6 months or something like that, right? It's a positive appeal. It's a positive spin. And so the thing that I really took away from Caples was, among many other things, was this idea of paying attention not just to the different headlines and what's effective, but diving deeper and looking at the underlying appeal and looking for the type of appeal that is being used in a market, and then using that type of appeal over and over and over. So it's not, infinitely more valuable than just looking at competitors and seeing what their headlines are and what their promises are, is looking at how would you categorize the appeal that they are presenting to the marketplace, and then leveraging that appeal in your own marketing. And when you see that, like, the negative appeal works, like, let's say if you are, for example, like in the financial investing arena, you'll see negative Obama appeals, negative appeals, fear-based appeals used often. That's an example of identifying the appeal that is working in a market and recycling that appeal over and over. You could take, a negative appeal, a fear-based appeal, this idea like your money is being taken from you quietly, or there are things you don't know that are causing you to lose money. You can take that appeal and you can recycle that over and over and over and over with a variety of different ideas, a variety of different headlines for years, right? And seeing that, but the thing that you're doing that Caples really opened my eyes to was the appeal itself and paying attention to the appeal. And so that is number 8. Coming down to the wire here. Number 9, one of my favorite, like this, if I really had to boil it down to like, top 3 to 5, this one is definitely in the top 3 to 5. And this book, also published by my good buddy Michael Masterson. And this book is Great Leads. This is one of those books also. You could see green highlight, orange highlight, yellow highlight, different yellow highlight. You could see blue ink going back over this book. This is Great Leads is one of those books that every serious marketer has to read. This is all about how you craft the initial, you could see, pen. But this is all about how you craft the lead of your message. Typically what Mark is, and John Ford, no relation to Mark Ford, typically what they're talking about is when you're writing a long form sales letter, the first, call it, the first 20% of the sales letter, right? The deck copy, the pre-head, the headline, the subhead, the first bulk of copy that leads into the body of the sales letter. But this applies to video sales letters, it applies to webinars, it applies to evergreen webinars, it applies to teleseminars, it applies to a direct mail piece, it applies to any any marketing campaign. Well, the beautiful thing about this, what this book will really open your eyes to, the transformational lesson of this book is that depending on how familiar your prospects are with your company, with your solution, with other solutions in the marketplace, and with their problem, should determine the type of opening that you use, the type of lead. That's what it means by great leads, not leads as in lead flow, profit flow, leads as in that's the first 20% of your VSL, the first 20% of your long form sales letter, the first 20% of your webinar. The prospect's level of awareness is what determines the type of lead that you use. And here, I'll show you, let's see if I can get to, bear with me. I want to show you this chart because the chart really, where the heck are you, chart? Yeah. Let's see the other chart. There's more than one chart. Yeah, see if you could see this. So this chart right here. So you see how it says most aware, product aware, solution aware, problem aware, unaware. And it's tied to indirect versus direct. This chart sums up, let's see this. This chart sums up what gets taught in this book, and it is an amazing lesson. And basically, to kind of break this down for you, so, unaware is like prospects that are unaware that they have a problem, right? They are, they're unaware of their problem. Maybe they don't even have a problem. So therefore, they're unaware of the different solutions to the problem. They're unaware of you, your specific solution, etc. Then you've got problem aware. That's like the individual that's got low back pain. So unaware is, let's break it down. So South Florida, down here, West Palm, a lot of old folks, and I say that with massive respect. A lot of older folks, elderly, right? And so let's take the elderly guy, the elderly golfer who is he doesn't have low back pain yet. He doesn't have a low back injury, and so he's not even thinking about it. He's totally unaware, right? That's unaware. Most difficult prospect segment to convert into a buyer because there's no urgency, reason, there's no awareness of a problem or awareness of a solution. Then you've got problem aware. That's like the guy that has back pain and he's aware of, he's a golfer, he's an elderly, gentleman, and he's a golfer, he likes to golf because there's golf courses all over the place down here. But he's only problem aware. So he's not aware of the different solutions out there. He's not aware of you or your product. And so he's problem aware. Right? He's still looking for the different solutions out there, still researching the different solutions. Should he go to a massage therapist? Should he go to chiropractic? Should he take over-the-counter painkillers, creams? Should he order an in-home unit to do something with? Like, should he go to physical therapy? He's still researching. That is problem aware. Solution aware, right, is he is aware of the different solutions that are out there. He's aware of, like, that he's interested in, let's say, massage therapy. What? That noise is my chair. I swear it was making that noise. Now it's not. Darn you. So let's say, he's aware, and he's aware of the different benefits and negatives of the different solutions out there. And so the prospect, let's say is interested in massage, right? Now they go on to product aware. Maybe they're aware of you as a massage therapist and the other massage therapists in your area, and they're trying to make heads or tails of what's better or different or unique or exceptional about you versus the other options, right? They're kind of weighing you, or should I go to this spa, or should I go to this therapist over here? So that's product aware. And then there is most aware, right? Most aware is the individual that knows you, knows your product, is aware of your brand, aware of your expertise, right? And so on, right? And so that's like the difference between the individual who doesn't know anything about a tablet, They don't know anything about a tablets, you know, an iPad or anything like that. Then they understand, you know, why they've got a problem. They need to be able to access their email and their various apps on the on the go, but they're unsure. Do they need a smartphone? Do they need a tablet? Do they need a laptop, right? Then you've got solution aware. That's the individual who is aware that the way to go is a tablet, and they understand the benefits of a tablet and why they don't need a laptop or anything like that, but they need a tablet. And then there's product aware. They're familiar with, they kind of know, you know, there's an iPad, there's whatever, I don't even know the other, you know, I use an iPad, there's other tablets. And then you've got the individual who is aware of Apple, who's aware of the iPad. They know what makes it the best and why it's the best, and they know they like the iPad Air or whatever it is, and so on and so forth. So the difference in awareness level determines how you approach them, right? The individual that is completely unaware of tablets and why, and the iPad, and why they want one, you know, like they haven't even thought about that yet. The way you approach that individual is very different from the way you approach the individual who already knows about Apple and the iPad and the benefits and the features and the advantages, right? Like this individual, the most aware, what they want to know is what's the deal? What's the deal? What's the money? Tell me, like, what's the deal? Right? The Apple, you know, the Apple fanboy, so to speak, like doesn't, you know, they just want to know like what the deal is, right? Like when they came out with the new iPhone 6 Plus gig, I didn't start going back and looking at what makes the iPhone different from every other iPhone. I didn't start to go back and be like, let me compare features with the other ones. I didn't need Apple to build credibility with me, right? Like that's not what I was looking for. What I was looking for, because I was most aware, was like, all right, how much is it and when can I get it? You know, kind of like same thing with the watch gig, you know, which I'll probably wind up getting and using for like a week and then putting it with all my other watches. Right, that's vastly different from the unaware. And so the thing that I want you to see here is that direct is all about the deal, is all about the like what's the offer, whereas indirect, which is what you use for the for these individuals, right? Indirect is what you use for the unaware, is more about, you know, is story, is indirection, is you bring them into your funnel not by making an immediate offer, but you bring them in through another angle, which I won't get into right now, but that's what Mark talks about in Great Leads. And he breaks down the different types of leads and which leads are direct and which leads are not as direct and which leads are indirect. Phenomenal book that each and every one of you should read. And that brings us to number 10. And those of you that have been on here from the beginning, you know what number 10 is. Number 10 is Russell's new book. And I'm not going to turn this into a commercial, because hopefully if you're here, you trust me enough to know that if I recommend something, it's because I believe in it. This was a book that that Russell mailed to me, sent to me before I flew out to Traffic and Conversion, before San Diego, and as kind of a review copy. And I read the book. I read the book while I was on the plane ride from South Florida to San Diego. Granted, I had a layover, but by the time I arrived in San Diego, I had read the book. And when I got to my hotel, I messaged, I voxered, or voxed, I don't even know what you call it, Russell. This book, I can tell you that you can see if you look in here, look at, right? And this is, Russell is a friend and a peer. But look at I know he loves it when, he loves it that I've got this thing highlighted. But Russell has truly taken the stuff that he teaches in his $15,000 coaching program, and he put it in this book. This is basically take Russell's $15,000 coaching program, and if you wanted it in a book that you can digest on your own, that's what this is. Right? This is one of those things where Russell breaks down the 7 different funnels that he uses. He breaks down the different email sequences that he uses. He breaks down the different steps, the different stages. He breaks down front end, back end. Like, it is truly the most spot on book that as it relates to funnels that I've ever come across. That's why Dan Kennedy Dan Kennedy wrote the forward in the book. That's why you'll read, there's rave reviews from Bill Glazer, from Tony Robbins in here. But so Russell, so he breaks down the correlation between old media and new media and how they correlate. And then he gets into the different funnels, right? And the formula for who, where, bait, result. He breaks it all down. His formula, where can you find them? The questions to ask. It actually is insane. He breaks down his concept of the value ladder. I was actually like, I can't believe that he shows his own value ladder in here. It's just basically his traffic. It's phenomenal. It really is, to the point where it pisses me off a little bit. It's that good. It really is. And he goes over the 3 types of traffic and how to use them and get them and what you do with them. He shows sample pages and screenshots from pages and breaks down the elements of those funnels. He breaks down the attractive character, which is how he's built his entire email sequence. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Then he goes through, like I said, his 7 different funnels that he uses, and he breaks them down with screenshots and all. And yeah, it was just so insanely impressive. I don't know if I would say, there are so many transformational lessons that you'll reap from this book. You really will. And the cool thing is that Russell's giving away free paperback copies right now. You just have to pay shipping and handling. I think it's like $7 for shipping and handling, something like that. I would pay that in a heartbeat. Knowing what I know today, if you were to offer me this book for $200, I would buy the book for $200. I'd probably buy the book for $1,000, knowing what I know today, just because this book covers funnels unlike any. I mean, there's scripts in here. There's email swipe copy given from subject lines. Here's another one. Example 2. All of the, right, how he does his email broadcasts, how he does his email autoresponders in here. The actual structure of the different elements. So he goes into, for example, email number 2. This is the open with high drama. Email number 3, epiphany. He goes into email 4, hidden benefits, like breaking down the urgency and call to action. He actually has a link for resources, so you can download the different maps that he gives in here. Just freaking crazy, man. It really is. It really is awesome. And so one of the things that I would also do personally is what Russell did was he recorded an audio version. He went into the studio and he, for 8 or 9 hours, some absurd amount of time, he recorded the audio version of the book. And I think you can get that for, I don't even know, you get the book for free. You just pay shipping and handling $7. And the book will be shipped directly to your doorstep. You also get some bonus videos that help break down this even more. A private, I think, boot camp that he did, like for his paid folks. And then you get the opportunity for, I don't even know how much it is, $10, $19 if you wanted the audio copy. I would get the audio copy right away because you can download it right away and begin going through it. And then you'll get the book in the mail. This way, the audio version you can listen to at fast speed. Like I listen to all my audio on my iPhone at fast speed, like 2 times speed. And so you can do that and you'll be able to consume the book much quicker and then go through this and you'll have a reference guide. And so there you go. That is number 10. And so hopefully you got some great tips tonight. You got some great lessons. You got to see some of the transformational lessons from my 10 favorite marketing books. And yeah, it has been, it's been cool. An hour and 45 minutes, not too shabby. If you haven't grabbed his Russell's book, there's a button or something below or a link below the video. Go click it. And that's it. If you enjoyed the hangout, you can go ahead and leave a comment below. I think I'll probably do more of these, just sharing more lessons and whatnot. But for right now, I'm going to go crash. I'm exhausted. I've had, I think, 3 or 4 live trainings over the last 24 hours. And so it's been kind of exhausting, to say the least. And so with that being said, let me see if there's any questions. You got it, Michael. Breakthrough advertising. No, your market. So Michael asked a great question, very savvy question. Can your message be too sophisticated for the market? Say you hit them with a level 4 and they're only at a level 2. No, so that's a great question, very savvy, Michael. So you can always have a message that's higher. Like, it's okay to have a message that's higher than the marketplace sophistication, but you can't have a message that's too low. So if you roll out with a level 3 marketing message, you can roll that out for level 3 prospects, level 2 prospects, level 1 prospects. But if you have a level 1 message, you cannot go out to level 2 or level 3. It will not resonate. So you can always be above, but you can never be below. Yeah, Monty said over here, and I completely agree. Russell's book is well worth the investment, the $7 or $8. Paladin said no suggestions, only a comment. This is really good. Thanks for deciding on the hangout on this topic. Appreciate you reaching out. You're very welcome. What if the appeals are all over the map, both positive and negative? Great question, Ruth. And so, if you see competitors that where their appeals are all over the map, positive and negative, what I would go back and do is I would look at trends, and I would look at which appeals have been repeated over and over. So not only what appeals are being used right now, but what appeals have been used and have been used over and over. The other thing is, when you're looking at the other direct response marketers, look at which appeals they are continuing to use, right? So have they been running with a negative appeal for the last 6 months? If it's a direct response marketer, not an image institutional advertiser, you can see I'm sweating because there's no air in here right now, which is crazy. As long as it's a direct response marketer, you know that they know their numbers, and so they'd only be running a campaign if it is effective, if it's working for them. And so I would look for trends there. Okay. Matthew, also, you're right. Breakthrough advertising. My guest, Justin, said breakthrough advertising. Josh, breakthrough advertising. Breakthrough advertising. All you guys nailed it. You guys are awesome. I love seeing that. How about positioning? I'm not sure, Ruth, if you're talking about the book positioning. If you are, it's over there. And so, great book, no doubt. Absolutely. Just not one of my tops, but okay. The Bible, amen, Sal. That's certainly that's one that I read every day, for sure. But so great stuff. So I'm gonna go crash. That's all she wrote for me. But I hope you guys had an awesome time. I'll probably be checking this page back as we let the replay roll. If those of you that missed the first part of the hangout, you'll be able to watch the replay in a matter of minutes. But thanks so much for hanging out with me. This was kind of cool. Yeah, it was kind of cool and fun and informal, and we'll definitely do it again. And so have a great night, great day, wherever you are from all over, and we'll talk soon. So take care, everybody.